Hello, my name is Fiona, and I'm a certified teacher and a Praxis coach with Study.com. Are you planning to take the core academic skills for educators exam for elementary education? That is test 5752. This is a multi-subject exam. This particular problem set covers the subtest 5713 and covers the subtopic of reading integration of knowledge and ideas. Let's review some of the types of questions you may encounter on the exam. Let's get into it. Problem number 1. Use the following information to answer the question. Read the following passage from The Three Little Pigs, retold by Flora Annie Steele. Once upon a time, there was an old mother pig who had 3 little pigs and not enough food to feed them. So when they were old enough, she sent them out into the world to seek their fortunes. The first little pig was very lazy. He didn't want to work at all, and he built his house out of straw. The second little pig worked a little bit harder, but he was somewhat lazy too, and he built his house out of sticks. Then they sang and danced and played together for the rest of the day. The third little pig worked hard all day and built his house with bricks. It was a sturdy house complete with a fine fireplace and chimney. It looked like it could withstand the strongest winds. The next day, a wolf happened to pass by the lane where the 3 little pigs lived, and he saw the straw house, and he smelled the pig inside. He thought the pig would make a mighty fine meal, and his mouth began to water. Which of the following lines from the passage creates a visualization? It was a sturdy house complete with a fine fireplace and chimney. He thought the pig would make a mighty fine meal. The first little pig was very lazy. So when they were old enough, she sent them out into the world to seek their fortunes. Or he didn't want to work at all. What is visualization? This is when writing has the ability to evoke or create pictures in our minds based on the words we read or hear. With visualization, we are using our prior knowledge to recall information, make connections, and pay attention to the details we read or hear. This is a skill that helps with reading comprehension. So let's review these again. He didn't want to work at all. There's no imagery there, so we can eliminate that. So when they were old enough, she sent them out into the world to seek their fortunes. Again, there's nothing there that we can use to picture. The first little pig was very lazy. We can have an idea of what that is, but the words do not give us the mental pictures. He thought the pig would make a mighty fine meal. Again, we can draw pictures from that, but the words themselves aren't giving us a description to form pictures in our minds. Finally, we have, it was a sturdy house complete with a fine fireplace and chimney. With that, we can draw the picture of the house, the chimney, and the fireplace, and we can see it. So this is indeed our correct answer. Problem number 2. Use the following information to answer the question. The allusion to music also allows Wolf to flesh out aspects of her character's inner life that could not be addressed directly. The story draws on music's contemporary association with homosexuality, which is further implied through the description of Mr. Carslake as a queer fish whose affections for his butler are the subject of speculation by his friends. These details hint at a more unconventional and warmer private life than is apparent through his conversation at the party, or through his slightly sinister wish for human homogeneity and simplicity. Select all of the elements that indicate the inductive reasoning in the paragraph. Ending with an overarching assertion, opening the paragraph with the, beginning with the description of Mr. Carslake, or a concise summary. Now, let's look at something first. Select all of the elements and select one or more. So we know that at least two of these are going to be correct. What is inductive reasoning, though? This is a method of taking very specific details and forming a general conclusion. Inductive reasoning is also known as bottom-up reasoning or inductive logic. Now let's look at the answers. Ending with an overarching assertion. This is very promising. It looks very much like forming a general conclusion. So I like this one, and we're going to go on. Opening the paragraph with the, far too generic to have any meaning at all. Beginning with the description of Mr. Carslake. If we recall, it was extremely detailed description, which we can use as the taking specific ideas part of our definition of inductive reasoning. So I'm going to put a line under that one as well. A concise summary, too general. So we've got ending with an overarching assertion and beginning with the description of Mr. Carslake. And I believe these two are the correct answer. At the end of the paragraph, the author states that these details are hinting at a larger point. So these are indeed our correct answers. Problem number 3. Use the following information to answer the question. In October 1856, Herman Melville left the tinted hills of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, for a lengthy excursion to Europe and the Holy Land. Just 37 years old, Melville was a half-broken man. He suffered from headaches, sciatica, eye strain, crushed hopes. In a word, burnout. His epic Moby Dick had failed to catch on in 1851, and his next novel, Pierre, or The Ambiguities, was head-scratching at best, a laughingstock at worst. Subsequent short stories were tepidly received. Earlier in 1856, Melville had been able to squeeze out a final novel, The Confidence Man, which was his 10th work of prose in 13 years. The novel is a string of disjointed vignettes about hypocrisy and flim-flam. A bitter rosary to brood on. The swashbuckler of the South Seas, the prodigy who had produced Typee and Omoo, was in the past. Herman Melville had pretty much decided to give up writing. Which of the following statements best strengthens the main idea of the excerpt? Before we look at the options, let's talk about the main idea. So the main idea is the primary idea or central concept that the author is intending with their narrative, setting, and characters. A main idea can be explicit, that is, directly stated, or it can be implied, which means it is not directly stated. Now, let's look at each of these and work out which of the statements best strengthens the main idea of the passage that we read earlier. His epic Moby Dick had failed to catch on in 1851, and his next novel, Pierre, or The Ambiguities, was head-scratching at best and a laughingstock at worst. Maybe. Let's put a circle on that one. The novel is a string of disjointed vignettes about hypocrisy and flim-flam, a bitter rosary to brood on. I don't think this explains the main idea of his burnout about Herman Melville, etc. All right, next. Earlier in 1856, Melville had been able to squeeze out a final novel, The Confidence Man, which was his 10th work of prose in 13 years. Again, a very strong contender. All right, next. In October 1856, Herman Melville left the tinted hills of Pittsville, Massachusetts, for a lengthy excursion to Europe and the Holy Land. I think we can eliminate that when it doesn't express the burnout and the feelings that the excerpt was evoking. The swashbuckler of the South Seas, the prodigy who had produced Typee and Omoo, was in the past. I like this, but I don't think it's strong enough compared to the other two. So now let's look at what we've got left. His epic Moby Dick had failed to catch on in 1851, and his next novel was head-scratching at best. Versus earlier in 1856, Melville had been able to squeeze out a final novel, The Confidence Man, which was his 10th work of prose in 13 years. I think now we can eliminate this one because I think this is the strongest statement that indicates the burnout that Herman Melville was experiencing at that time. So this is the correct answer. I hope I was able to clarify the subtopic of reading integration of knowledge and ideas so that you now have a better understanding of the types of questions you can expect to find on the exam. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel so that with Study.com's help, you will feel confident and prepared on exam day. Bye for now.